Have you ever found yourself agreeing to something only to wonder later why you said yes? Or maybe you've watched someone gently steer a room, not by arguing, not by raising their voice, but by saying almost nothing at all. No force, no pressure, no obvious manipulation. And yet, by the end of the conversation, everyone seems aligned. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the quiet architects of consensus, the individuals who subtly shape agreement, guide decisions, and influence outcomes without ever appearing to persuade. This isn't about mind control. It's not about villains or conspiracies. It's about the invisible mechanics of human psychology, the silent cues, environmental signals, and strategic behaviors that move people toward shared conclusions, often without them realizing it. By the end of this video, you won't just see persuasion differently. You'll start spotting it everywhere. Let's start with a simple truth. The harder someone tries to convince you, the more your brain resists. Psychologists call this reactance, the instinctive pushback we feel when we sense our freedom of choice is being threatened. That's why aggressive sales pitches feel uncomfortable, why lectures often backfire, why telling someone you're wrong rarely changes their mind. Human beings don't like being persuaded, but we love believing we've made decisions on our own. And that's where covert persuasion begins. The most effective influence doesn't feel like influence at all. It feels like your idea. A quiet architect of consensus doesn't dominate conversations. They don't rush conclusions. They don't force opinions. Instead, they shape the conditions in which decisions are made. Think of them less as debaters and more as environment designers. They understand one key principle. People don't respond to arguments first. They respond to context, emotion, and social cues. Once those are aligned, agreement follows naturally. Let's explore how. One of the most subtle persuasion techniques is mirroring. This happens when someone unconsciously or intentionally matches another person's body language, tone of voice, speech rhythm, and energy level. When done subtly, mirroring sends a powerful non-verbal signal, "I'm like you," and similarity builds trust. Studies show that we're more likely to agree with people who feel familiar, even when that familiarity is artificially created. You lean forward, they lean forward a few seconds later. You speak calmly, they soften their tone to match. Nothing is obvious, nothing is forced, but your brain begins to categorize them as safe. And once trust is established, resistance drops. Not because logic changed, but because connection did. Now, let's talk about one of the most powerful and least understood concepts in persuasion, pre-suasion. Pre-suasion is the art of shaping attention before an idea is introduced, because what we focus on determines what persuades us. For example, if a conversation begins by emphasizing cooperation, people become more open to compromise later. If someone highlights risk early, listeners become more cautious, even about unrelated topics. If autonomy is emphasized first, people feel in control, making them more likely to agree voluntarily. The quiet architect doesn't start with the conclusion, they start with the mental frame. By the time the idea appears, the mind is already leaning in that direction. Here's something most people underestimate. Silence is persuasive. When someone doesn't rush to fill pauses, their words carry more weight. Silence creates anticipation, reflection, psychological space. A quiet architect knows when not to speak. They allow others to finish their thoughts. They let ideas hang in the air. And something interesting happens. People often persuade themselves. When you say less, Others project meaning, and conclusions reached internally feel more valid than conclusions handed to us. Timing matters too. A suggestion made at the right emotional moment, after agreement, relief, or shared laughter, lands far deeper than one made at random. Most people think persuasion requires evidence and arguments, but in social settings, belonging often matters more than truth. Social proof doesn't always come from statistics, it comes from implication. A quiet architect might say, "A lot of people have been thinking about this lately. This tends to work well in groups like ours. Others had similar concerns at first. Notice what's missing? No names, no numbers, no pressure. Just the suggestion that agreement is normal. Our brains are wired to avoid social isolation. When an idea feels socially accepted, it feels safer to adopt." Framing is about how something is presented, not what is said. The same information can trigger very different reactions depending on framing. For example, this option has a 90% success rate. This option has a 10% failure rate. Logically identical, emotionally opposite. Quiet architects understand emotional framing, gain versus loss, stability versus risk, progress versus delay. They don't lie, they don't invent facts. They select the angle that aligns with the listener's values. And when values are respected, defenses stay low. The strongest form of persuasion doesn't target opinions, it targets identity. When an idea aligns with how someone sees themselves, resistance collapses. Instead of saying, "This is the logical choice," a quiet architect implies, "People like you tend to choose this." Whether it's being seen as thoughtful, independent, loyal, or responsible, identity-based cues are incredibly powerful. We protect our self-image more fiercely than any single belief. When agreement feels like self-expression, it doesn't feel like persuasion at all. All of these techniques work because the human brain is a shortcut machine. We rely on familiarity, emotional tone, social context, cognitive ease, not because we're weak, but because it's efficient. Covert persuasion doesn't overpower logic, it bypasses the need for it. And that's why it's so effective and so easy to miss. How to protect yourself from covert influence. Awareness is your strongest defense. When you notice yourself agreeing quickly, ask, "What shifted my comfort level? Did I evaluate this or absorb it?" Slow down decisions made in emotionally smooth conversations. Pay attention to framing. Notice silence. Notice how agreement is implied rather than stated. Persuasion loses power once it becomes visible. The quiet architects of consensus aren't magicians. They're observers of human nature. They understand that influence isn't about control, it's about conditions. And once you learn to see those conditions, you stop being unconsciously guided by them. You don't become immune, but you become aware. And awareness changes everything. If this video made you notice something you've felt but never named before, that's not an accident. That's understanding.